You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengel.
Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Kevin Helfrich. Kevin told me that he was going to be going to the Indiana Wesleyan playoff game, NAIA quarterfinal playoff game on Saturday against Benedictine. That game's at noon. So I asked Kevin if he would come on and talk about the Wildcats, and here he is. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, it's good to be here, Greg.
Tell me about the game. Chance to make history, right?
Yeah, they can definitely match their history. You know, they're with a win, Indiana Wesleyan would make it to the Final Four for the second time in program history. You know, it's just a young program, but 2 years ago they were able to get there and got the job done against the same Benedictine team. So it's going to be two prolific offenses tomorrow. Indiana Wesleyan averages just over 47 points a game, and Benedictine averages just over 46. So, you know, just looking at those numbers, it's going to come down to which defense can play better. And I think in this one, Indiana Wesleyan on paper has the better defense. They allow just 11 points a game, where the Ravens average just over 25 points a game. So if it comes down to a stop or two or a turnover or two, I think the advantage goes to the Wildcats, but that's why you play this game, because Benedictine has one of the best quarterbacks in all of NAIA. He has the fourth most touchdown passes with 38 on the season, and he has also thrown for the third most yards of any quarterback as well. He's thrown for 3,766 yards. So it'll be a tall task tomorrow. Indiana Wesleyan doesn't face a lot of dynamic passing teams in their conference, so they did go up against a good quarterback last week, and it took the Wildcats a little bit to adjust to that. They gave up two long touchdown passes early in that first quarter and fell behind, which they haven't fell behind too much all season long. So they can't afford to do that tomorrow, just because every possession is so vital, and it'll be important to get off to a good start.
Throughout the year, how's the defensive backfield played?
The defensive backfield has played pretty well for Indiana Wesleyan. You know, they have a plus 12 turnover margin on the season due to the Wildcats. They've had 18 interceptions and forced and recovered 9 fumbles. So they have been able to turn their opponents over, but so has Benedictine. They've been able to force 26 turnovers themselves. So it's going to come down to which defense maybe can perhaps cause those turnovers tomorrow. Indiana Wesleyan has a solid linebacking core as well, 3 seniors that really anchor that middle, and Clayton Mosier, Luke Bays, and Drake Deshetsky, and they have some good defensive linemen as well. They've got Anthony Cheeseborough, who has 6 sacks on the season. He's a senior. And then they got grad student Robbie Hunter, who also has 5 sacks on the season. Then when you get to that defensive backfield, we have All-American Neil Campbell, who's a lockdown corner. And then in the secondary, Davion Turner leads the team with 4 interceptions. So this is a very good defense, and that's something Indiana Wesleyan has had the last several years, but their offense is an up-tempo offense. They do not huddle, so a lot of weapons on offense as well. They got the only backfield that's had 2 rushers rush for over 1,000 yards this season. And Roosevelt Cage, he's got 16 touchdowns, 1,102 yards. And Ryan Whitwell, freshman, 1,055 yards and 11 touchdowns. And then when you look at the wide receiver positions, they got Isaac Smith, who's just a junior, who's got 1,017 yards and 14 touchdowns. And then they got grad receiver, who has been a vital part the last few years, and Levi Tidwell, who has 815 yards and 6 touchdowns. So this is a potent Wildcat offense who hasn't been slowed down much all season. I will say in last week's playoff game, they were a little bit sluggish, only scoring 24 points, but the defense was big, as they have been all year. The lowest point total Indiana Wesleyan has scored this year was 17. That came in their only loss of the season up at FCS Valparaiso in week 3. So this is an offense that's hit on all cylinders most weeks, and it'll be important that they have a good game tomorrow. And the defense hasn't allowed more than 24 points in the game. So we'll see tomorrow if they're able to do that again. I think if they're able to do that, the offense, I think, will score just enough points for the Wildcats to advance.
All right, Kevin, tell me what you've learned about Benedictine this week.
Yeah, just looking at some of their stuff and looking at them on film, offensively they're a more pass-heavy team than they are a run team. Not to say they can't run the football, because they average over 150 yards a game and they throw for over 325 yards a game. So this is an offense that can really get up and down the field, and they can do it both ways, but primarily they're going to attack through the air, and I think they'll look to do that early on tomorrow. And then they've got a good field goal kicker. He's 13 of 15 on the season. This game could come down to a final possession. It could come down to a kick to win the game. His long on the season is 53 yards. His name's Harry Bulkey. And so that could be a weapon for them. But Indiana Wesleyan also has a good kicker themselves, and Josh Clifton, all-conference kicker who's only missed a few field goals this season as well. So that really could come down to those guys in those final minutes for sure.
Tell me about the Indiana Wesleyan coaching staff and kind of why they've been so successful the last few years.
Yeah, well, Coach Rhodey, is in his second year with the program. He came in from Morningside, which has won, some national titles. He was an offensive coordinator there, and he's
Also
just
still alive in this tournament.
They are still alive and very well. Could be an opponent that, if things fall the way they may, Indiana Wesleyan could potentially see them, but maybe not until the championship game. It'll just depend on seedings and who wins this weekend. But,
right.
Yeah, Coach Rhodey's kind of just picked up where Coach Lang's left the program in good shape, and this is really a veteran football team that he still has. A lot of those guys that have been here, some of them 5 years now, and a lot of seniors, especially on the defensive side of the football. And he's just done a good job of continuing the winning ways of Indiana Wesleyan football. And then he's been able to, put a staff together that sometimes is ever-changing at this level. As people will get promoted and go to different higher levels of football and that sort of thing. But he's got a former player in Defin Bacchus, who is the linebackers coach here, was a player and was on a Wildcat team that made it to that Final Four. And then you got Austin Taylor, who's been on the defensive side and was a co-coordinator with another former player until this year, and he is now the man as the lone defensive coordinator, and he's been around the program for a while. And then on the offensive side, Travis Palmer is in his second season with the Wildcats, and he's really done a great job as Coach Rhodey's kind of given the play calling up primarily to him this year. So he's just got a solid staff. He's got guys up and down that coaching staff that have played the game, know the game, and have really done a good job of the Wildcats are very fundamentally sound as far as their techniques with tackling and offensive skill sets and that sort of thing. And the one thing that the Wildcats will need to be a little bit more of, I think, tomorrow is discipline. They do have a lot of times where they get some penalties. It's just not with a personal foul or something that is just not, you can't have those in this type of game. And you can't have false starts and those sort of things, or jump off side on a close, third and short or fourth and short. And so this is going to be key tomorrow for them to play sound football and error-free football.
So of course, the top seed plays the lowest seed left. That's how the tournament works. So in order to play at home next week, they would have to have Kaiser, Florida lose to Georgetown, Kentucky.
Right.
Or Grandview, Iowa lose to Northwestern Iowa. Otherwise, they are going to be making a trip.
That is right. And so, I do think that perhaps Grandview has an outstanding defense, no doubt, but I don't know that they have a high-powered offense. So, Northwestern is a team that's won a national championship recently, and they were runner-ups, I believe, last year as well. So they're a team that could get Grandview, and, Indiana Wesleyan is probably pulling for that one a little bit. That way, Iowa's got a little payback they need to give Northwestern. They're the team that kept Indiana Wesleyan out of the national championship game, and they gave Indiana Wesleyan a pretty good thumping out in Iowa, 38-7 just a few years ago. So that would be big. Kaiser is a defending champion. I do anticipate that they will probably come out on top against Georgetown. This is a team out of Kentucky who eliminated Indiana Wesleyan last year in the quarterfinals. So this is the third straight year Indiana Wesleyan has made it to the quarterfinal round, and they've won one and they've lost one. So we'll see if they can get back to that semifinal game with a shot to get to Durham and play for a national championship, which would be the first time in school history, and could go along with their volleyball team that won it last year. They've had men's basketball that have won 3, women's basketball that's won multiple ones, and so a lot of championships have been won here on the south side of Marion, and Indiana Wesleyan football hopes to add a red banner for football as well.
Yeah, what do you think the chances are of them getting to Durham?
Well, I really expect a close game tomorrow. I really do. I think, it's one at home where Indiana Wesleyan hasn't lost a home game. They've won 25 straight on games they've played at home. Now, they did have to forfeit one a few years ago due to some player ineligibility issue, but they haven't actually lost a game on the field in the last 25 at home. So I do like their chances to win tomorrow. Then if they get a home game, I really think they have a great chance as well. If they have to go on the road, it's going to be tough. It just is. Those top teams are really, really good. Teams that have been there, done that before. So not that they couldn't do it, but I think you got a more of an uphill battle if you do have to go on the road and travel, because none of those places are real close. They could have to go to Florida, they could have to, go all the way out to Iowa. And those are, 15-hour bus ride out to Iowa is not a good way to spend the weekend, I don't think. But I do like this football team. It's a veteran football team. They've proven all the year that they are very good and capable of winning it all. So we'll
I,
see how it goes.
I assume you'll be sitting in the stands and not the press box.
Yeah, I've got season tickets to the
Yeah.
Wildcats. I've been all their home games. I've traveled some away games, so yeah, I'll be 3 rows up about midfield and hoping that they can get a victory tomorrow and advance to the next round.
Well, we hope to hear from you tomorrow after the game for about another 10 minutes, breaking down the game, and go Wildcats.
Yeah, let's
You
go
got it. Are you
Wildcats.
a prediction guy?
I can give, yeah, I will give a prediction for tomorrow. I think it'll be Indiana Wesleyan 27, and I think Benedictine 24. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think Benedictine will be able to score some points on the Wildcat defense just because their offense is just that good. But I think Indiana Wesleyan will make just enough plays down the stretch and bring home the victory.
Thank you so much to Kevin Helfrich for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report once again. We appreciate him so much and are looking forward to working with him for the rest of this year and hopefully into the future. And thank you for listening. Please go right now and like, subscribe, or follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube. Now on YouTube, just search Central Indiana Sports Report and you will find all of our segments. Also, we're growing fast, but we'd like to grow even faster. So it would be very helpful if you would tell a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.